What's good, champ? I made an old post in 2021 that somebody reminded me of today. It said that most men are in pain, and when they don't acknowledge or address it, then it morphs into different types of behaviors. So the homegirl Asia commented on it yesterday and said we need to run this bike. So what we're gonna do today? Run that bike. Disclaimer: ain't no way for me to do this in a minute this morning. It's not even a way for me to do this in one video. So this is part one. Now, the first thing I want to say is this video is not meant to spark argument in the comments. This video is not about who has it worse, men or women. And this video also does not negate anybody else's pain. We're just talking about the pain of men right now. Now, all that to say, girl, your man is in pain. And the worst part is, he ain't even know it. 9 times out of 10, the man that you're dealing with was never taught not only how to acknowledge pain or deal with pain, we weren't even taught to recognize when we're in pain. So when we don't know how to recognize it, it shows up later on in behaviors that can be harmful to ourselves or others. So let's start with some of the sources of pain. It's not always one thing. You have generational trauma. You got societal expectations. You have a lot of childhood wounds. Over 20 years ago, when I first started my career public speaking, I used to use the example to men. I would tell them, you would be surprised if you knew how many women in this audience have been violated before. But a few years into it, I realized that I had to start saying the same thing to women. You would be surprised if you found out how many men that you know have been violated before. Another quick disclaimer. Does this mean that you have to stick around for things that may be harmful to you and sit around and watch it and take it? No. So the responsibility and the burden is still on the actual person. So in this case, the burden is still on the man to not only acknowledge the pain, but say that he wants to actually work on it. But if he refuses to acknowledge it, ain't no way he's finna work on it. In that case, what Kendrick say? Hey, run for your life. So instead of acknowledging and addressing it, we suppress it. And anything that you suppress is coming back up. It's just gonna come back up in another form. Yeah, it don't just disappear. It comes back up in the form of anger, in the form of addictions, in the form of overworking. For some, it turns into neglecting self-care. For some, it turns into emotional numbness. But for most of us, it turns into toxic relationship patterns. Yeah, it's very difficult to stay in the present moment and show up for ourselves or our partners because we're so stuck in the pain of the past. Anybody that ever broke a bone before? It could be 30 or 40 years later. And anytime something is looking like it's coming toward that part of your body that you broke, you're gonna cover it. You cover it because every cell in your body has memory, pain memory. So you remember that pain that you went through and you don't want anything to approach that no more. And it's the exact same thing when it comes to emotional pain. We can never be present, fully present in the moment because we're stuck in that emotional pain from the past. Stay tuned for part 2 later. Until then, go about your day with power. DestinyManifest.org. Wham!